Welcome back, everyone, to Public Affairs. I am your host, Kayleigh, and today I'm here with the Ashland Mayor Matt Miller. So why don't we just get started and what's going on in Ashland? We'll talk about the economic development.
Well, I'll tell you what, this has actually been a big month for economic development in the city of Ashland. In fact, we, just as a city council and the mayor, have approved the sale of approximately 22.5 acres of land in our city industrial park to a Fortune 500 company. Now, the company at this point has not been willing to allow us to share their name, but I can tell you that not only is it a Fortune 500 company, but they specialize in e-commerce, shipping and handling. So I think if a lot of your viewers are listening carefully, they can probably figure out what company this might be. But it'll be a distribution center of sorts, and we're very fortunate to have them show interest in our community and agree to be in our industrial park. And I was thinking about it as you were telling me that one of the subjects you wanted to talk about were economic development. You know, a lot of people don't realize, but Ashland has such a diverse economy. We are not reliant on one particular industry for our economic well-being. So, for example, you may not have known that Ashland, Ohio is the one place in the world that produces more than, I believe, 15 million cans of shaving cream every year. That, of course, is Barbasol shaving cream. That's where it's produced exclusively in the city of Ashland. And then if you travel just down the road from Barbasol, you'll find yourself in the front lawn of Novatex. And would you believe that Novatex, a relatively small company, a German-based company, I believe they have somewhere in the neighborhood of about 75 employees, they produce more baby bottle nipples than any other place on earth. I believe it's something to the tune of over 100,000 baby bottle nipples each day. Pretty impressive, really, when you stop and think about it. And I just learned even recently that at one of our other manufacturers, Atlas Building Supplies, they produce over 250 million screws. Screws that you use for the building trades, all sizes, all shapes, all colors. More than 250 million screws are produced each year at Atlas Building Supplies. And of course, they're used all over America and all over the world. So we're very excited, though, to add another type of business to our industrial park, and that is this Fortune 500 company that just announced they'll be coming to town.
Wow. So what do these production places have to do with Ashland? Why Ashland of all places? What does it bring for your community?
You know, that's a great question, and I will tell you that one of the best assets that we have in Ashland, of course, are our people. We're still considered a rural community, and because of that, we have a lot of men and women who have grown up maybe on the family farm, or they have raised livestock or raised their own animals, maybe getting ready to show them at the county fair. But because that is so much a part of our culture, people tend to have a strong work ethic. After all, let's face it, if you grew up on the family farm, you know what work is. You know what getting up early means every day. You have no choice. Whether you're sick, whether you're not feeling well, it doesn't matter. The animals still need fed. Everything still needs taken care of. And we've got a lot of families, young and old, that have grown up in that situation, and therefore they know what it is to work. And so we've got a lot of folks that are a great value to the companies where they go to work each day. Now, the other part of that, though, is one of our greatest assets is the fact that we are located in such a prime location in Ohio. The city of Ashland is actually located on Interstate 71, one of Ohio's busiest freeways, and we are exactly in the middle between Cleveland and Columbus. And we're about an hour and a half away from each, and that means that we're the perfect location for many companies because once they produce their product, they can easily get them onto the highways and get them spread all across the nation to their customers. So I think those are probably the two primary reasons why companies are so interested in being in Ashland.
Yeah. I definitely understand the work ethic. I grew up on a farm.
Did
so
you?
I get,
Yes, yes.
So I totally get getting up at 6 a.m. having to go out for the animals.
I am certainly paraphrasing, but if you read Thomas Jefferson in some of his writings, he talks about the fact that the agricultural lifestyle, the rural lifestyle, he said creates men and women of the highest character. And he largely attributes to the fact that in the rural areas, you really have to take responsibility for your own well-being. There's no one else to depend on. In fact,
Yeah.
in many instances, you're out in the middle of fields and you're reliant on your family and each other in that small group of people that might live in your little community for your survival. And so that does lead to a life of discipline.
Yeah, it does. I totally understand that. So we talked about the economic development in Ashland. Let's talk about some of the housing development going on in Ashland.
Well, we're very blessed that there is housing development going on in Ashland, because I know all across the state of Ohio, people are clamoring to add more housing to their communities. Believe it or not, even with the prices as they are, rising home prices and so on, there is still a lot of people looking to get into that first home and find a place to live. In the city of Ashland, we have taken the position that if we're not growing, we're dying. And so as a result, we want to add more housing stock to our community. Now, up until this point, most all of the new developments that we have experienced have been market rate apartment housing. Now, these are some of these more modern apartment complexes that feature a variety of amenities, everything from maybe a pool to a workout facility. Some even have dog parks outside.
Wow.
Some have their own garages, standalone garages for each of the individuals living in their apartments. That's the type of housing that has been added to our community over the last couple of years. And quite candidly, it has filled up instantly. In fact, the biggest project that was recently completed was 200 market rate apartments out on the east side of town by Interstate 71 and US 250. And before those 200 units were completed, there was already a waiting list for people to get into those apartments. And the question all of us had on our minds was, well, who are these people that are living here? Are these Ashlanders just relocating? What is this all about? And what we actually found is that most of those people filling those units were from out of state or from around our local region.
Yeah.
And so I take that as a sign that we're doing something right in Ashland. After all, we are doing our best to make Ashland the most livable city around. Safe, affordable, and fun. That's what I often tell our team. We want to be safe, affordable, and fun. And all of those aspects that are necessary for a high quality of life, for the perfect place to raise your family, or for you just to enjoy life as a single person, all of those aspects and those values and those priorities are alive and well in Ashland. And so maybe it shouldn't surprise us when we see so many people moving into these new apartments. The other thing I want to say about that is, one of the things we're finding is, regardless if someone is young or whether they're considered older, maybe at the end of their careers, people are looking for a lifestyle and a housing arrangement with as little hassle as possible, meaning they don't want to have to mow, they don't want to have to shovel the sidewalk and the drive, and they're not interested in taking care of the landscaping.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason why you're seeing these apartments be so popular, not only in our community, but all across the state, quite candidly, all across the country, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But in addition to those apartments, we know we also need to add single-family homes. And right now, we are working with 2 different developers on projects that, if they do come to pass, they would involve, number one, annexing more land into the city, because this is undeveloped land on the outskirts of our city. So we'd have to do an annexation. But if these projects would come to pass, one would add approximately 400 more living units, single-family homes. The other would add about 150 to 200. And we are working hard to make these happen, but this would give those young families that are growing, no longer want to be in an apartment, the opportunity to have their slice of the American dream. Now, I do want to say this, though. We are recognizing that the cost of housing, the cost of finding an affordable home, or the cost of building a new home has really gone through the roof. And in fact, I believe the last number I saw, the average home price in Ashland County was somewhere around $260,000,
Wow.
which that is huge. It really is huge. I believe that the average wage or hourly wage in our community hovers somewhere around $16 to $19 an hour. And when you do that math, you'll find that that would be very challenging for someone making that typical wage, hourly wage in our community, to afford one of those homes.
Yeah.
Yet, the homes are flying off the market. They barely even are on the market for a day, and someone's buying them. So there's a lot of understanding that we're all seeking as to how this economy will sustain itself. The other thing that I think your viewers might be interested in knowing is we are told by developers and home builders today that you should not expect to build a new single-family home without spending over $300,000. And that really is incredible, because I'm not that old, and in my lifetime I can tell you we would have never dreamt that that would have been the case. If a home was $150,000, you were having 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and you were in good shape. And now you'd be lucky to get that for even $300,000.
Did you know it's also $100,000 to clean up the yard and everything before you're able to build?
Wow, yes.
So you're paying an extra $100,000
right.
on top of the $300,000 you're paying to build it.
Land is very, very valuable, and the right sites that are wooded, like you described, that maybe have full-grown trees and so on, certainly drives up the price of those lots, but also adds to the cost of preparing the lot for the construction of a new home.
That's why I appreciate you guys thinking that aspect, because I know for me, I'm a college student. I don't have the salary to be paying for a house to be built or afford at this rate.
Yes.
So it's nice that you guys are getting them homes in there.
We're doing our best.
It's summer. We've got a lot of hot seasons going on. Tell me about the pool party.
Well, you know what? We just got done hosting our annual Big Splash Pool Party. Now, the Big Splash Pool Party may be a new idea to many that are watching, but the Big Splash Pool Party was birthed out of the idea that we needed more things for our young people to do in the city of Ashland during the summer months. After all, many are spending the summer at home, and they needed more activities. And they couldn't be expensive activities because, let's face it, there are a lot of families that are struggling right now to make ends meet. And so we needed it to be an affordable activity, but we wanted it to be a first-class activity. And so with the generous help of a number of individuals and families and businesses in town, we were able to raise the money to host what we call the Big Splash Pool Party. And I wish that I could show you pictures of the pool party, because I don't care if you're young or you're old, it is a spectacle. It is a fantastic party. In fact, my wife and I go every year, and we're usually there from 11 a.m. until closing time at 7 p.m. But I'll tell you what, one of the things that makes it so special is not only is it free to everyone under 17, but we also provide each of our young people with several tickets. They get a free snow cone from Kona Ice. They get a bag of cotton candy from a vendor we bring in, and they get lunch provided by Chick-fil-A.
Wow.
Chick-fil-A provides them with a sandwich and waffle fries and beverage. And we wanted that to be the case, that those items would be free so that no child had to do without because maybe mom and dad couldn't afford to send a few extra dollars with them for concessions. And I will tell you, when we started our pool party, I believe it was 4 years ago, we had about 400 people. Well, this past month, we actually had over 1,400 people come and spend the day with us at the party.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, it is so much fun. We have a DJ. He plays fantastic music, fun, lively music all day long. In fact, during the intermissions, when the students and young people have to get out of the water, we then have dance off is what we call it, and everyone stands on the deck and does all these sorts of dances that everyone would know and recognize, Cupid Shuffle and all of those types of things. And one of the other highlights is we fill that giant Brookside pool, that's our city swimming pool, we fill it with over 3,500 rubber ducks. Rubber ducks of every size, every shape, and that alone makes it a fun environment for the kids to see.
Yeah. Makes me want to be there. Sorry I missed it.
It was one of the best this year, without question. Yes.
So we talked about the pool party, summer activity. You guys got the Ashland Fair coming up. Tell us a little bit about that.
We do have the Ashland Fair coming up. That actually will take place toward the end of September. And that, of course, is one of the biggest social events of the year. Everyone comes out to the Ashland County Fair. It's not a big fair, but it is a self-contained area there at the edge of the city that is very clean and well-maintained. A lot of people that visit our fair say it's one of their favorites. And again, it's not because it's so big or glorious, but it's just very manageable. It's a nice size fairgrounds that doesn't require a lot of walking to get across from one side to the other. The buildings are well maintained, lots of wonderful exhibits, and so a lot of people look forward to the fair. But I'll tell you, when you ask me about the fair today, the thought that comes to mind is the fact that we're working on a project along with our Ashland County Fair Board to raise the money to construct a brand new civic center on the fairgrounds. Now, basically what a civic center is I believe it's 14,000 square feet, I believe is the size of the building. But basically it would be a giant all-purpose building that could be used all throughout the year. As I mentioned, we have a small fairgrounds, but our fairgrounds buildings, even though they've been well maintained, are very old. In fact, many of them are probably original to the fairgrounds. And so they have deteriorated. Their HVAC systems aren't real manageable. Some of them, in fact, don't even have one and can't be utilized. The buildings can't be utilized during the winter months or the cooler seasons. And so by building this new civic center, we would have a main focal point at the fairgrounds that could be used not only during Fair Week, but all year round, and could be used for a variety of purposes. I know we've talked about wanting to do different trade shows and conferences there in our community, and quite candidly, we just haven't had a building before this. So we are embarking on a fundraising campaign along with the Fair Board to raise the funds to construct this building, and hopefully, if all goes well, within a year, we'll be able to announce we have the funding and watch the building being built.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, me and Tyler will go to some of the county fairs for public affairs, so it's really nice.
We'd love to have you.
Yeah, and I hope you guys reach your goal. And
I do
to
too.
Be able to get
I do too. I do too.
What other activities do you have in the summer for Ashland?
Well, you know what? During the summer months, we have not only the Big Splash Pool Party, but we also are well known for the annual Ashland Balloon Fest. That usually takes place the weekend before July 4th. That already has happened this year, but it was wonderful weather. People got to see the balloons go up. I can't remember the exact number of balloons we had, but I believe it was over 30 balloons this year. And I have to tell you, on a summer night when the sun is setting and you see that sky full of different colored balloons and different shapes of balloons, that's a pretty incredible spectacle to see. And that event brings out thousands of people. Thursday and Friday and Saturday. It happens over a 3-day period, the weekend before July 4th, but attracts a wonderful audience and brings in a lot of people to our community that spend their money in our restaurants and spend their money in our hotels, so it certainly helps us strengthen our economy. But I'll tell you, here we are, and it's hard to believe we are coming to the end of summer.
I know.
And so a lot of people are asking me, so what's next for Ashland? And what I would say to you is the next thing we're looking forward to, of course, would be the county fair. But then after that, in November, is when we get ready to host our annual Christmas kickoff. Ooh. And that is our fabulous downtown Christmas parade and fireworks extravaganza. We light a big Christmas tree, our official city Christmas tree, and that is quickly becoming the most highly attended event in the city of Ashland each year. It has grown to the point that we had to adjust our parade route to up and down Claremont Avenue and Main Street because we simply could not accommodate all the people in our downtown. People come from all over to see our Christmas decorations, and so it's hard to believe I'm sitting here talking about Christmas, but the truth is we're cruising into September.
It's almost fall.
And that's exactly right. And so before long, we will be opening up the community to see our wonderful Christmas decorations. But that's what I love most about our community is there's always something to look forward to. There's always an event that you can look forward to, something fun on the horizon. We kick off the year, of course, with our St. Patrick's Day parade and celebration downtown, turning our town creek green. Everyone loves it. We do that in the spring. Then we move right into our downtown cruise-in car show, which is just growing so much over the years. Now I think we have something like 600 to 800 cars a year. It's just incredible. And then, of course, Balloon Fest, and then the pool party, and it just goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
So something always for families to enjoy in the city of Ashland.
So back to the balloon. Are those hot air balloons, or is it like a balloon release?
They are hot air balloons. And I'll tell you what, if your viewers don't know this, years ago, Ashland, Ohio was known as the balloon capital of the world. I talked about the fact we produce more shaving cream than anyone
Yeah.
else, more baby bottle nipples. We produce 250 million screws. We used to be known as the balloon capital of the world. And that was because we were the headquarters for National Latex Products Company, and they produced more children's play balls and balloons than any other company in America. In fact, at that time, they had all of the licenses to Disney characters and so on. And so their balloons were literally, if you threw a party and there were balloons, chances are they were made in Ashland. Now, a lot of that has changed over the years. In fact, just recently, National Latex decided to close their shop in Ashland and locate their entire operation in another state where they had their headquarters moved to years ago. But all that being said, that is how we got started on this idea of having a balloon fest. Because even though those were the kind of balloons that you blow up and use for a birthday party, it seemed like a natural connection to have hot air balloons. And so over the years, even though we're no longer producing all those children's balloons, we still are the site of the Ashland Balloon Fest, where we host all those hot air balloons that fill the sky on a summer night.
Yeah, I love hot air balloons.
Have you ever been up in one?
I have not.
No.
But they are so pretty to look at. Just the colors and everything amaze me.
Well, I have been very fortunate to go up, I believe, 2 or 3 times. And incidentally, if you are interested in going up a hot air balloon, we now have a gentleman in our community who I believe owns 3 hot air balloons, and he will take people up in rides all the time. You can pay to take your friends up and everything else. And so it's not uncommon to see balloons up in the sky even when Balloon Fest isn't going on.
Well, maybe you might see me, because I'll have to take that opportunity.
Well, here's what I want to tell you. When I did take my ride in the hot air balloon, the thing that I will remember forever is you have to realize that when you're in a hot air balloon, unless they're pulling that lever and releasing the flame and the gas to fill up the hot air balloon, there is no motor, there is no fan. And so when you're up there, once they get that balloon blown up and it catches the currents or the waves moving, it's completely silent. It's completely silent. And yet you're floating so gently, without any bumps, without any hiccups. You're just floating along the countryside. And truly, I have to tell you, I even get chills as I say this to you, it just reminds you as if you're in a dream. Because there's no sounds, there's no engine, there's no fans, and you're just quietly floating across the sky. People often talk about the fact they have those dreams where they're flying. I would say this is just about the closest thing you'll get to that in reality.
It's just that peacefulness. I get what you're saying.
It is. Now, I will tell you, when you land, that's a different story.
Very
because
bumpy.
there is no landing gear, so you'll hope that the weather conditions and your pilot are expert, because that can get a little bit more bumpy.
Since we were talking about balloons, the opposite is obviously cars and engines.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about the car.
Well, the Downtown Cruise-In Car Show is put on by a group of volunteers. A lot of them are probably, I'd say, baby boomers, men that have loved their hot rod cars or loved their classic cars over the years. And then they've teamed up with our friends from Ashland Main Street, which is our downtown revitalization organization, and just put on a wonderful show. Here's the deal. Downtown Ashland in the summer months is known for our flowers. We have thousands, tens of thousands of Vista petunias. It's a wave petunia, pinks and purples and so on, and we have them everywhere. They're hanging from the light poles, they're on the pots on the corner, they are fertilized by a city employee every day of the summer months, and so as a result, they look like flowers on steroids. So when you combine those beautiful flowers on every square inch of downtown with a vibrant selection of retailers and restaurants and bright blue skies and sunshine and 600 colorful, shiny cars, it's bound to be a good time and certainly a spectacle to behold.
Yeah, it's always nice to keep the community clean and beautiful. I always like going downtown and seeing all the flowers myself.
Yes.
What is new to Ashland? Any architecture going on?
Well, you know what? I will tell you, just this past week, the city of Ashland finally reached an agreement to purchase the last vacant building on our main street. Now, there are a lot of small communities that would love to be able to say all their buildings are occupied, and occupied with something that contributes to the experience of downtown. Well, we have one building left that is about 15,000 square feet, used to be the headquarters for a telephone company, currently owned by Frontier, the telephone company, and it has sat vacant probably since 2003, so more than 20 plus years. And the telephone company has it on their books, based out of Dallas, Texas, but it just sat empty and has continued to deteriorate, and ceilings have fallen in and so on. And we have had a number of our local entrepreneurs and business prospects talk with them and try to work out a deal to purchase it, to turn it into something neat that would contribute to the experience of downtown. But nothing ever happens. It always falls through. For some reason, we could never get it done. Well, this past probably month, I'm going to say about 3 weeks ago, I was so fortunate and blessed to be able to finally talk to the right person in the corporation headquarters for Frontier, and basically explain to her that we need to do something with this building. It's got to get, we can't afford for it to deteriorate. We need to get it in the hands of someone who can rehab it. We can't just let it sit here. Well, she was in agreement, and she finally came to the conclusion the best thing to do was to sell it to the city of Ashland for $25,000, and then we will be the ones that can decide how we use that building in the future. We see it as an economic development project.
Yeah.
Now that the city is going to take ownership of that building, we are talking with prospects, local prospects that are well-funded, that can take over ownership of that building, renovate it, and then, as I said, put something in it, a business or retailer or restaurant or even housing, to add to our downtown. And that is just developing as we speak. You ask for something new, that is hot off the presses, as they would say, because that is all unfolding as you and I sit here today. But I'm very hopeful and very excited. We've got a prospect that is ready to go. Now we just got to dot all our I's, cross all our T's, and hopefully if you have me back here again, maybe in 6 months or a year, I'll be able to tell you what we put into that building.
Yeah, awesome.
So.
That's what I love to hear after a couple months, seeing what's going on. It's always nice to have people back and have a refresh.
Absolutely.
So as we're getting ready to wrap up this interview,
Yes.
is there anything else you'd like to add, closing statement?
No, I just appreciate all the interest you have in what is going on in the city of Ashland. I know that your viewers come to us from all across the state, all across the region, but the truth is we're all in this together. And a lot of people, especially during a presidential election, are talking about how they want to make America a stronger and better and greater nation than ever before. The only way that really happens is if all of our states become stronger and better and more united. And the only way that happens is if our local communities do what they can to make our communities a better place to live. Each time we do something to make Ashland better, we're contributing to making Ohio a stronger state, and in turn, we're contributing to the well-being of America. So thank you for showing interest in what we're doing on Ashland.
Yeah, well, thank you for meeting with me today and telling the viewers about Ashland,
Thank
especially
you.
the ones that are living in Ashland
Yes.
as we speak.
Yes.
As always, you're watching Public Affairs, and I am your host, Kayleigh Aiken.